great. That is my cue to get us started. So good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're very excited to get started and talk about online business development tools, the IBT online global programs, and especially to hear from a North Carolina business and some of their experiences with what they've done with digital marketing to reach international clients. My name is John Loyak. I'm the online partner director here at IBT Online. And today's presentation is dedicated to Appalachian hardwood manufacturers. These are folks that make a product that is very, very much desired for its strength, durability, and quality. And it's one that's known all around the world. And so we're joined today by contacts up and down the eastern US, from states like Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Virginia, et cetera, but all over. So thank you all for joining us today. To begin, I'll just talk a little bit about IBT Online for a moment. We are a US company, and we're 100% focused on helping companies get the online tools that they need. So we're focused on websites and online marketing. These are things that are designed to help grow your business internationally. The company's been around for about 20 years, and we're very proud that we've developed these online global programs that we're going to talk about. The online global programs they're focused on every state that we work with, but the goal of these programs is the same. It's to focus on top line growth for exporters. And so we want to help provide businesses all across the US with tools so that they can walk away with something that will help them grow their exports, grow their sales, build their brand, build their business internationally. We'll talk about this more later, but allow me to introduce some of the folks that are joining me today for the conversation. So today I have the privilege to present with two people who have some amazing stories to share regarding website localization and international online marketing. I'm joined by Jonathan Such. Jonathan is the president of Advanced Super Abrasives. They're a dynamic company based in Western North Carolina. So Jonathan, thank you very much for being here today. And also joined by Joel Lazzarotto, who is the online marketing director here at IBT Online. Jonathan, before I turn it over to you, let me just walk us through a brief agenda to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today in our discussion. And just in terms of some basic housekeeping for folks who are on the line, we do have the means to certainly chat and ask questions as we go along. We're going to stop the presentation in a few moments, just to do some polling as we go along as well. But just want to let you all know that this is designed to be as interactive a conversation as we can have, and so please take advantage of some of the tools that are available today. We do have a pretty packed agenda. We're going to start with Jonathan. He's going to share a little bit about his experiences of and what he's done to develop dedicated websites for Canada and Mexico, why he chose to get those websites, and what the impact has been for his business. And then Joel and I will try to answer the big questions of the why, the what, the hows. So why do you need online business tools? What are they used for? How do you use them? What are the things that your businesses should be thinking about in terms of online business development tools and reaching these international audiences? So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Jonathan, let me turn it over to you to talk a little bit about ASI's experience.
Thank you, John, and welcome everybody to this webinar, and glad to be here as somebody who makes grinding wheels for the woodworking industry and hardwood industry all over Appalachia, all over the world. Actually, we export our grinding wheels for the woodworking industry in 28 countries worldwide. So the hardwood industry is something near and dear to my heart, especially being here in Western North Carolina and traveling all through Appalachia from the northernmost parts to the southernmost parts of it. And working with a lot of you probably may have heard of my company or myself, in that we make grinding wheels to sharpen saw blades, whether it be circular saws, band saws, router bits, cutter heads, drills, all those different things used in woodworking. So, very glad to be here and share our story. And so, I mentioned Advanced Super Abrasives. We make grinding wheels, and you can see a few of the wheels there. Some of you in the hardwood industry may recognize the old Vollmer style 3A one side grinding wheel there. But anyway, that's our old website, and boy, it was an absolute disaster. And pre-pandemic, like most of us in Appalachia, what do? We visit customers, travel through the area, go internationally and everything. What happens with the pandemic? Now we can't travel. I couldn't go to a lot of the lumber yards, couldn't go to a lot of places because, we were locked out, COVID restrictions, different things were happening. And so we looked at our website, which you can see there, the old website, and it was awful. We did a lot of the worst case mistakes that we could have made in that we used Google Translator. You can see that there, so our websites didn't translate right. It wasn't appealing to our customers. We weren't hitting anybody internationally. Our international distributors and Salesforce were giving us, feedback that really not getting anything out of our website. And we don't want to send people to your website because it's that bad. And so we made the real decision, and it was a hard decision in the beginning to say, hey, how about we look at website globalization? We're in this business of going out and visiting everybody. Well, we want to spend money on a website for. Well, let's go ahead and let's look at it. So we did. We sat down, we looked at it, and now you can see a picture of our new website there, which is a lot more appealing. And what we found is, even though we're in an industry where everybody wants you to visit and come face to face and go to these trade shows like, IWF in Atlanta or Ligna in Europe and Germany and all these different export shows, people really wanted to see your website, and they want to, your website is really that snapshot of your company, your culture, your offerings, just everything about your company before somebody meets you, even in person or via email or Zoom or whatever. And so what we did is we started looking at our website, and we created this wonderful US version here. And we said, how about if we do 2 of our biggest markets? So in the woodworking industry, we know Canada's a big market, US big market, also Mexico a big market now. So we said, how about if we work on 2 markets, and we pick Canada and Mexico. And so what you see here is part of our website in Mexico. My distributors in Mexico immediately told me that they went from cold calling customers to getting 10 to 15 RFQs a week. So immediately from the website going live, people in Mexico were finding us, and they were interested in our products, and they liked the layout of the website. And so we saw quite an increase in our sales to Mexico, but we also saw quite an increase in our sales to Canada. And again, that was all attributed to the websites. Our Canadian website, it's in English. We didn't do a French Canadian website, but we did put it in English. And what was great is that the customers in Canada went to that website. As a matter of fact, Joelle would sit down every month with me and give me a report and say, look at all these people going to your Canadian website, and tell me where they were going to look at it from. So were they in Alberta? Were they, over on the west side with Vancouver? Where were they? Where were these customers coming from, and what were they looking at, and what particular pages were they stopping at? And this was great information that helped our sales team, help our distributors to target our customers. So we weren't, like I said, we were going through cold calling, what I call the old shotgun approach. We just throw everything against the wall and see if it sticks and whatever happens. Now we're actually being targeted. We're targeting our approach. We're targeting different parts of the countries. We're targeting different industry sectors. We're targeting different customer demographics and things like that. So the websites really allowed us to hone in on how can we best use our resources. I mean, let's be honest, most small businesses, that are even 150 people or less, you don't have the resources to do everything and capture everything all at one time. So you have to be targeted, and the websites allowed us to do that. So in Canada, we saw a 25-30% increase, but in Mexico, we saw an exponential increase. And so you can see here what I said, that we did more in export revenue in 2021 in Mexico than the previous 15 years combined. And I can attribute that to our website in Mexico. And not only the website, but the digital marketing that goes with it. So don't only think of this as we need a website. You also need to reach people and drive them to your website. And I can tell you that IBT Online, whether it was the website or the social media marketing, did an excellent job in walking us through everything. And I'm glad that I have Joelle and John here, because I knew John in a previous life before he worked for IBT, and then now he works for IBT in his what he used to do. And I know Joel because Joel was actually a part of not only the website builds for Canada and Mexico with us, but also all the social media campaigns. And Joel was kind of that point person to keep us in line and on track. And so you can see some of our social media posts here. But what's the important part about that? Important part about social media is that most people, even in our industry, in the woodworking industry, they're looking at social media. And as we know, with the younger generation coming in, they want to find things on Facebook or on LinkedIn or all these other social media channels. So you need to know how to harness that. And what's been great is that IBT was gracious in working with us to kind of hold our hand, so to speak, because I'm not a social media expert. They are, luckily. So they were able to come in and say, in Mexico, we're seeing a lot of activity on Facebook, and our ads are really taking off on Facebook. And we're able to convert so many of these ads into actual RFQs or reach outs or things off your website. So we need to really focus on Facebook in Mexico. With Canada, they were able to come to us and say, LinkedIn is really where we're seeing the best traction for your products and everything. So we need to do more targeted campaigns on LinkedIn. And then they were also able to work with us when we had the IWF show. Maybe we want to target customers in Canada and Mexico and say, hey, we're going to be at booth number whatever. You want to have that targeted social media campaign, not only to drive your customers to the website, but also drive them to your booth location. Let them know where you're going to be, talk to them, reach out to them. And what I'll say is that the whole process with IBT, coming into it, I thought, oh, websites, pain, misery, this is going to take forever. We're never going to get through this. No, I can tell you, IBT has been amazing to work with. As a matter of fact, right before we got on this webinar, I had a brief conversation with Joel on a website we're getting ready to start working on in the UK, as we're bringing on distributors in the UK. And what's great is they're there to work with you. So what Joelle and her team will tell you is, and I can tell you from personal experience, most of the stuff that you need for the website and your social media posts that you see here, you have it somewhere. You have pictures of your product, you have information about your company and your staff and everything. And so you just have to get that together, get that to IBT Online, let them do their creative work, let them work with you on things like keyword searches, things like that. Let their social media team work with you to say, okay, what are you trying to target? Are there particular demographics? Are there particular company sizes? Are there particular areas inside these countries? And let them work with you. And like I said, it was the easiest thing I've ever done when it comes to anything digital, okay? And I'm not, a digital guru, but what I love is that IBT is, and they make it easy for you. So you're not going to be alone in this. So don't think, well, I'm in the hardwood industry. We're out cutting trees and taking logs down, and we're heat treating them and or putting them in kilns and putting them in containers. And what do I need this for? You need it because you need to meet your customers. You can't always be at every trade show or meet them all face to face. They need to find you. Trust me, they're out there looking for you. This new generation of purchasers that are out there, they don't look in your ERP system or your QuickBooks or whatever, your CRM to see who are you using. They go online first, and that's how they look for who they want to purchase from. And having your information out there and reaching people on places like LinkedIn and Facebook is what you need to do. And you don't need to be experts at it. That's what's great about IBT. Joelle and her team will sit there and they'll say, in Latin America, most of the people are reaching your website and everything on their phones. So you got to make sure that your website is mobile ready. Oh, well, in Canada and the UK, most people are reaching it maybe off the desktop or laptop or a tablet. So you need to have that information available. And that's what's so great about working with IBT is they give you all that information. And I can tell you from my perspective, through the pandemic, we did not lay any people off. We did not cut hours or anything like that. We actually grew during the pandemic. I can point to the websites as one of the reasons why. Also, being diverse and exporting all around the world helps, but having these websites really helped carry us through the pandemic and then even after pandemic. We're at the point now as a 40-person company that we have a full-time salesperson in Mexico in our own office. That's how much business the website and the social media marketing brought to ASI. So it can be a complete game changer. It can change your whole trajectory, so to speak, and the growth potential of your company. So I can tell you from firsthand experience, some markets it may be 30%, 40%, but then you may have that market like I had in Mexico where it was so great we had to have our own salesperson. So, I mean, I don't want to take up too much more of the time because I know that John and Joel have a lot to present and a lot of great data, but I just wanted to give you my perspective as to how great it has been and is always going to be, because I will continue using IBT Online when it comes to the websites and the social media marketing, but what it's done to change our company. I mean, a company that we never thought when we were founded in 1993 that we would ever do anything other than woodworking in Appalachia, in North Carolina, and the furniture belt and everything else. We never thought that we would do anything globally, to now a company selling to 28 countries around the world and creating websites internationally and exponentially growing and adding people and having a greater reach than we ever could have imagined back in 1993. And I can tell you that IBT Online and their team, their excellent work is a great tribute to our growth internationally. And I don't want you to think of IBT Online as your website creator and social media content creator, and they just turn it over to you and say, here you go. No, they really understand the culture of your company and they become a real partner. I feel Joel and John and everybody else at IBT as much of a part of ASI as any of the employees that I have here. As a matter of fact, I was telling them, I'll be seeing John in the not too distant future. We're going to go share a meal. I told Joel when I head over to the UK, we'll go have a meal. So, these are things that you will feel in working with IBT. They will learn the culture of your company and they will make sure that it is well represented only the way you want it on the website and also in your social media posts. And I think that's extremely important because reaching those customers internationally and them knowing your brand and who you are is what they're looking for. And so I'm going to turn it back over to you, John and Joel. And if anybody has any questions when it comes to, anything in regards from my, journey through this, I'll love to answer them later, but I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And we really appreciate your partnership as well. Well, why don't I dive in and just talk a little bit about why, we've got folks from the Appalachian hardwood industry with us today. So talk a little bit about why these folks who are exporting today, why they need online business development tools. I just want to start with some basic statistics. Always a great point to start. But the data that I'm about to share, these numbers really are staggering. I know you're not supposed to show a lot of numbers on presentations like this, but these are just so amazing. I really wanted to highlight them. What we know is we live in a world where there are now over 8 billion people on the planet, and over 5 billion of them, that's 63%, are online. Some 60% of them, about 4.7 billion, are using social media. So the internet is truly global. This is something that impacts folks all over the planet, from rural North Carolina to literally every market around the globe. And this is good news. This is good news because in almost all to the businesses on this call, I would say in almost all the markets that you're targeting, your customers, your prospects, your leads, your future distributors, your future employees, your potential suppliers, everyone your business interacts with is online. They're online trying to find businesses like yours. And so you know exactly where to find them. If I took a moment to just kind of dive into social media numbers a little bit more, again, I couldn't resist a few more stats to share with everyone, but I just want to highlight a few of the things here. These statistics spotlight what is happening with social media across the globe. And so we said about 5 billion of the world's population is online, of which 4.7 billion are using social media, and it's growing. Last year it was up 4.2%, which doesn't necessarily seem like a whole lot, but when you realize that equates to 190 million people using social media for the first time, that's a little bit staggering. That tells you that this is something that really is impacting the way that we reach people and communicate with them internationally. But there's another statistic I want to call out here, and that is the amount of time spent online. Whether we're comfortable with this or not, the average time spent online per person is 7 hours per day. And of that, 2.5 hours is spent on social media. So as Jonathan was saying, as you're trying to reach people before a trade show, if social media outreach isn't a part of your strategy, you're not reaching people where they are. This is why the internet is such an important tool for your companies, for the exporters here in the US, especially those who are looking to reach beyond the borders of the US. You know where your prospects are, you know how to reach them. It's with websites and online marketing. And what I'd share is, I don't want folks to think that this is something that is overly complicated. These are technologies that we are using today. They've been around for a long time. Really, when I talk about online business development tools, what I'm talking about is really two interconnected tools, your websites and your online marketing. Websites can be big or small, they can be e-commerce enabled or not. It all depends on your corporate goals, your strategy, your resources. But whatever the size and functionality of the website, we always recommend some form of online marketing as well. The internet's a competitive place these days, and so a website on its own will certainly struggle. So what will all this look like when you have these international websites in place? In practice, I think it's helpful to think about your websites as digital real estate. Your US domestic market website can have its own communication policy surrounding it. So you certainly have your own search engine optimization, your own social media domestically to draw in clients and prospects into that US website. But for your international clients and prospects, you need a similar online environment. So real estate for their market. So in this example, for example, let's say that you're targeting the French market and the Brazilian markets. Then you need a dedicated localized website for both markets with its own search engine optimization work, your own social media marketing strategy. That will act as a springboard for your communications. It can all feed back to the US website and certainly should be linked. But as a takeaway, what I would share is what we view as best practice, and this is certainly best practices followed by the likes of Google and other major companies out there. Use that website to let it act as real estate for you with clear goals, buyer journey mapping, your metrics, all the other essentials that we're going to be talking about. To recap, for the folks who are exporting on our call, what I would tell you is that many of you are already exporting. You're doing a lot of the things that we would traditionally do. We're meeting people in person where we can. We're traveling to trade shows. We're reaching out to them. But exporters today really need to think about how they can benefit from localized websites because the world's gone online more than ever. In a world where everything is in seemingly short supply, the online world can help you connect with those future clients, those employees, those suppliers who are searching online for you in their local online environment. This is what's important there. These business development tools that we're talking about are really critical. This is essential. 20 years ago, we would have been talking about the critical nature of just your website in general for the domestic market. But these online business development tools today really are a critical part of helping you. What I tell people is this is all about being found, being understood, and being easy to do business with in the target markets that you've selected. And what we find is interesting is when you're easy to do business with, you tend to do more business. And so these are the types of things that we encourage folks to look at these opportunities, as they move along. If I were to focus a little bit, I'll focus a little bit on website localization, and then I'll turn it over to Joelle to talk a little bit about international online marketing. A typical question that we get, if I were to dive into the website localization piece a little bit more, is a lot of folks will say to us, hey, I've got a domestic website, John. It's all I need. I occasionally do have some international traffic that comes in through that. John, I don't need another website. Why can't I just use my US website to go global? The answer is search engines are localized. And when I think about it, you can't just, as Jonathan mentioned, just putting in a basic translation tool to reach folks. You're not going to reach all of Latin America just by translating the website into Spanish. The answer is that search engines, all search engines, whether we're talking about Google or Baidu or even Amazon and YouTube, they're all localized. that means that they are searcher centric. They're trying to provide that searcher with a localized experience, something that is focused on them. So making a person searching the priority is kind of a new shift. But it's about making what's most relevant to them appear first in their search results. So just as an example, if you're targeting the German market, well, your prospective buyer will be logging on to google.de, not google.com that we use here in the US. They will search in German. They will use German search criteria in their search engine. And they'll want to see measurements in things like metric. They'll want to see currencies in euros, for example. All of that. They want to see case studies and information that's relevant to them and the way that they purchase things in their market. So think of search engines like Google as a lot of different country-specific localized search engines that deliver results that are hyper relevant to that person who's doing the search. Google itself has 192 country and regional specific search engines. So if you have a couple of pages on your website that are translated and yet they're not highly relevant to that target audience, you're pretty much invisible to them. And so there's some things that you can do to be found and be understood and be easy to do business with. The next slide is it's a funny little practical example that I look at when I think about, I'm based here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Joelle's over in the UK. We kind of look at, okay, what kind of results are we going to see if we use the search engines here that are local to my market? And so we both have dogs that love to play with chew toys in the background whenever we have webinars. They make a lot of noise. And so we both search for squeakless dog toys. And logically, Google provided us both with results that were relevant to each of us as individual users. So I got Chewy.com, I got Amazon.com and Yahoo, things that were relevant for me here in the US. However, Joelle got some really interesting ones, lordsandlabradors.co.uk and barksandbunnies.co.uk, and even amazon.co.uk, but things that were relevant to her. And so the same search on different Google search engines, even in the same language, give us different results. And so these are the types of things that the folks who are searching for your products will experience when they're searching for hardwoods in the US. If I were to just talk about a localized website and what are the things I would want you all to consider when you think of what you want to walk away with a fully localized website. Number one is that it's going to be a website that's relevant to your local buyer. I've listed a couple of criteria here that we use to determine what is truly a localized website. And language is just one of those criterion. I would say just as important are the domain name, the hosting, the regulatory environment plays a big part of this. A lot goes into a localized website in order for search engines to find it relevant to your prospective customers so that you can be found, you can be understood, you can be easy to do business with. And so there's a number of things that we do to ensure and take advantage of existing technologies to make sure that these things will work and that you have a truly localized website that will make you viewable to the local market. Search engine optimization is another important part of this. And if I were to say that keyword optimization is something that we put a lot of attention into as well. The same search engine in the same language will require different keywords. And so we looked at just one example here of the word for car, both it's all in Spanish. You can use different words, whether you're in Spain or you're in Mexico. So one of the main things that you need to make sure is that your keywords resonate with your local buyer persona. In this example, we have car. Many of us know we can translate car into auto or coche, depending on where you are. If you're a company that sells car parts or accessories into Mexico, you need to make sure that you're using auto in your translation instead of coche, because only 27% of folks use coche versus the more popular auto in Latin America and Mexico. On the other hand, if you're looking to sell into Spain, you definitely want to use the word coche because that's what the majority of the folks who are searching there are going to use. So your website and your social media have to use that word because that's what people use. That's the term that people use when they search for cars. I'm going to wrap up with just a couple of things here, then turn it over to Joelle to talk a little bit about. But Jonathan, whether it's through your experience or through many of our other clients, what I can tell the folks on our call today is that this is a very well-trodden path. There are grant opportunities that are available for businesses literally in every state. For anyone who's on this call, what I can tell you is, whether it be through the Small Business Administration or the USDA, there are grant opportunities to help you and help your businesses and support you to develop things like website localization and do international online marketing work, e-commerce platforms, international videos. These are all things that IBT Online does, but it is we're really, really grateful for the fact that there are federal programs that are provided to the states, so the states can help augment or offset some of the costs for businesses. So we heard from Jonathan earlier about how ASI used the online global programs to get international websites, but this is one that businesses all over the U.S. are using today. It's a very well-trodden path, and it's one that whether you're B2B, B2C, if you're using e-commerce or not, it's certainly one that it applies to all businesses. So the IBT Online programs are here for you, no matter what state you are in the U.S. We'd love to help your company get online and develop these online business tools. In terms of how these programs can help you, it is certainly, we are very focused on delivering ROI for your businesses. We're going to help you do that in a number of different ways. We want to help you be understood and be found. And then from there, we want to help you generate leads. We want to grow your international selling. Again, whether we're talking about B2B or B2C, we've got a lot of experience with that, and B2G, the business to government as well. But it's all about building your brand awareness, building your business internationally, but also give you a tool that you own and you control your online presence. And the important thing I think in here is that you ultimately are able to walk away with something that allows you to measure and manage the success that you're seeing online. That's not something that you can say for a lot of the tools that folks are using out there to reach international audiences today. So with that, I'll take a pause, Joelle. I know we may have a poll that we wanted to take, but let me turn it over to you.
John, thank you so much. And absolutely, before we dive into the next section, let me just really run a quick poll. We've talked a lot about website localization. Obviously, we've heard Jonathan. Thank you so much again for for sharing your experience. I'd just like to launch this real quick and move to a second just to ask all of the attendees that have been very kindly joining us today, whether there is anyone that would like to learn a little bit more about website localization, the how, the whys, really how this could help you, and then how the online global program and the association opportunity for grants and financial support from the different states and organization could help. So we're here to provide more information, to help with a potential partnership. So there is absolutely no commitment. We look forward to speaking with you guys. So I can see there is a few more responses coming in. Thank you very much. Very fantastic. I can see a couple more people coming in, so I'll just leave it for another second. But perfect. Let me just close this poll. If anyone has missed it, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We'll have all of the contact details at the end of the presentation. But mindful of time, and I know we've got you for about 45 minutes. I want to leave some time for some Q&A at the end as well. I've seen some questions come through, so if anything comes to mind, please do add it to the question box and we'll add it to our Q&A at the end. I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction. A lot of the time, the conversation we have with exporters and manufacturers, very much like Jonathan mentioned, it's like, okay, the website, but then it may be sitting there, no one is really using it, it's not generating the leads you were hoping. And that's when online marketing and really leveraging the power of those platforms that we have access to these days really can be a game changer. So I really just wanted to dive into, talk a little bit more about digital marketing campaign, how these can help you grow not only your traffic to the website, but also the engagement, and then at the end of the day, the conversions, whether that is direct sales, if you've got an e-commerce website, orders, RFQs, people engaging and downloading your content, anything that is a tangible, successful interaction with your business. But first of all, I just wanted to step back a little bit and just start from the top and just remind ourselves that online marketing is a great way to bring brand awareness, but also to build that ongoing relationship with your brand. So, you know, really helping new users that maybe, you know, people that have not been presented to your brand or your products before, getting them on your website, helping them in that consideration stage, getting them to evaluate, you know, your products or your services, and then, you know, guiding through a positive decision-making process. So all of this can be done through online marketing, and it's really all about creating what we would call digital events. So an advertising, a social media post, a blog on the website, an interaction on social media, all of this drives them through this buyer's journey. So the key here is really to make sure that we can reach the right people with the right message at the right time. So the key element here really where I'd like to start is the people. So those people is what we would call here your buyer persona, or really your ideal customer profile. So what's important to note, we're talking here about localized website, localized international marketing, is that your international buyer persona can differ from your domestic one, and probably would even add it should, because there are different, you know, different buying habits, different decision-making processes based on different markets. You know, the language plays a big important role on which platform we want to use. So on this slide, I've just put a few questions that you can start asking yourself when you think about this. For example, is my buyer persona different? You know, are there multiple buyer persona in my export market? Or you've got your distributors and your end clients. Those are two examples of a buyer persona. But also, how do they find you? What platform do they use to research online? Where do you need to be to interact with them? You know, in what ways is their journey different? So here I just wanted to bring you a very quick example of a big company, L'Oreal, but they've frequently been cited for how spot on they are with their international marketing. So here we see L'Oreal USA. We can see a very clear, you know, women-driven, top floor executive, very modern, empowered, in charge, very diverse. If we move to L'Oreal in Mexico, if the slide allowed me, here we go. Here we have something, the reason it's more with the culture is a little bit warmer, is you can see the urban background, but then you have a bit more relaxed atmosphere. We have men and women collaborating. This is how L'Oreal will see their audiences reflecting themselves. And then if we go to the next one, L'Oreal Chile, for example, again, very city-like, but a lot of green, a lot of nature, a lot more, you know, homely. And this is what really L'Oreal have done well in recognizing that each buyer persona is different. And here they're targeting very similar demographics, but by being able to use something not just language, but also imagery and context on the website and the marketing assets, really they're ensuring that the messaging is respectful of the fact that the buyer persona are different. And the difference can be very subtle, but most important is that it will resonate with the local buyer persona. And this really comes into play in every platform. And I know, Jonathan, you mentioned social media, and you've given a very good example of Mexico and Canada, how, you know, two seemingly maybe similar markets in terms of what we're promoting with product, the platforms are very different. But also here I wanted to show an example on how different buyer personas interact with a social media campaign. So I've taken an example here of a Facebook campaign where we were promoting the same product. We've used similar imagery and messaging, although of course we've localized with the language and also saying local to the imagery and what kind of products background we wanted to use. But here, if we look at the results for this specific post, then you'll see that the Mexico had some really good engagement rate. We had over 680 reactions within the first 24 hours of this ad going live. When we turn to the UK, we could see that the engagement of the post wasn't as exciting. You know, we were like, okay, maybe, you know, our audience is not as engaged. We're reaching a smaller market. Why they're not, you know, interacting with the post as much. So this is very relevant when you're looking at social media content, but also then how this converts to your website. So if we take this, I just wanted to highlight the high engagement rate versus the very high engagement rate in Mexico. But if we look at this is data from the website, how people have then taken, we've been able to guide them from social media to the website. And here we have the full buyer journey. So people visiting the website, people using the catalog to then go into the, the distributors page for them to have a very strong intent into purchasing. So if you look at the blue and the red, which is the traffic, the volume of people, the volume of interaction, you'll see that Mexico again is staggering higher than the UK. But when we look at the actual, what we call a conversion, so people interacting with the website, people purchasing, then it kind of plays, at a very more similar level. What does that mean? This simply means that we know that in Latin America and Mexico, there is a very high engagement at the beginning, at the top of the funnel, really engaged on social media. They spend a lot of time on your website, but then the conversion rate and the decision-making process can take varied touch points for them to come back to the website and eventually purchase. In the UK, we know the users do the research in a different way. So they would come back to the website maybe once or twice, really read the website, spend the time there, and when they come back, they're ready to purchase. So this just to prove that, it doesn't stop at one metric, but also that you need to make sure that before you start any social media or any marketing campaign, you do take the time to think about what your objectives are, what your goals are. And a crucial piece of digital marketing really is to make sure that you align your marketing strategy to your business objectives. So here it very much depends, what are you looking to achieve and how will you be able to then define success? So here I'll just really, again, follow through with an example from Facebook, a Facebook campaign objective. If you're looking to grow the brand, if you're looking to drive leads or sale, if you're looking to improve customer retention rates, you will need to have different goals and you will need to follow and track different metrics. So here, by having a very clear idea of what you want to achieve, you'll then be able to see where the successes are coming from. Because if you start comparing, apple and oranges in that sense, then it's very easy to throw in the towel and, say it didn't work. So perseverance, but also making sure that you have your set KPIs and then some really good goals to follow is key. And here, again, just a very quick, and I apologize, it's a little bit blurry. I was hoping it would play. There we go. I hope you can see them play. This is just an example of how all of this is put into practice, right? So this is an example, and the goal here was to generate engagement. Then our KPIs were engagement, shares, and comment. We're not looking for people to go to the website. We're looking for people to watch our video, get excited about it, reshare it on social media. So the company here, Amsoil, as you can see, they manufacture synthetic engine oils. And they've had a very strong B2B presence, especially here we're seeing some of their campaigns in social media and the UK. But part of our social media marketing strategy here included distributor acquisition, so moving more into the B2B realm. So as we said, the company already had a very good Facebook following in Spanish-speaking Latin America, but mainly B2C. So what we wanted to do with social media was also leveraging high volume of engagement by posting more videos, helping to capture the user's attention when they're scrolling. And I know we all do it. I think, John, you shared a stat. We spend 2.5 hours a day on social media, sometimes mindlessly scrolling. So here the consequence was to have such good level of excitement about the brand that it would look appealing to, in turn to potential distributors for them to start outreaching to the brand. So again, it's really just wanted to show you how B2C and B2B don't necessarily have to be complete separate approaches. Different platforms can play in different ways, but it's all about understanding your buyer persona and your local market. So localized international marketing plays, as we said, language is only one of the elements. There is so much more at stake, and understanding from the start who you're reaching and how you're reaching them is really going to help you to maximize on your efforts. And again, my team would say that this is the dry part of our programs, is the dry part of marketing, the tracking, the monitoring, the reporting. But I am a big data person. All of our programs, all of our campaigns are designed to build and really showcase tangible return on investment. So whether we're looking at business growth, whether we're looking at brand equity, whether we're looking at lead generation, The important thing is to define your goals, choose your metric, and continue analyzing them. Marketing is an iteration of processes, and it will take a little bit of time. But if you have everything set out and you know what you want to achieve and you know what you can measure, then there are strategies in place to really help you succeed. And I know I went through this a little bit quickly. We've got some takeaway and next steps, and keeping my eye on the clock as well. I know we've got a few questions. So I hope this was somewhat insightful, and I know that Jonathan shared some good information as well. So I hope all of that was helpful. So again, I'll just close off this section by launching our second poll and just asking everyone that's still with us whether there is any questions, if anyone would like to receive more information about online marketing and our online global programs. Very similar to the localized website, we have specific programs that can cover B2C, B2B, B2G. We go from search engines, social media, but also we do support companies with CRM integration, email marketing, trade show marketing, anything that's to do with account-based marketing. So very much depending on what your setup is, we can work with you to create a marketing strategy that will very much focus on the return on investment and drive that conversions for you. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And I can see that the team is going to be busy over the next couple of days following up with some of these requests, but that is fantastic. Excellent. Jumping on takeaways. We hope that if you take anything away from today's webinar other than Jonathan glowing, obviously recall of his experience with the online global program, is very much that the first takeaway is the world is online. 5 billion internet users, 7 hours a day. These are big numbers. So really this shows that your audience, you know where to find them, they're online. So get an effective online business development tools, localized websites, online marketing, reach your clients, prospect, future employees, suppliers, anyone is out there searching. So make sure that you are easy to find and easy to then do business with in the local market. So we said, number one, your international website. Really, we'd like you to see it as your best local sales rep. You know, we say go global means going local. So localizing your presence, making sure that you have something working hard for you 24/7. Put over a different content that is relevant to the market. Make sure that you have that approach, but the website will be there working for you, and then really giving that user experience that your local prospects and clients and distributors as well are looking for. In terms of, again, we're going back to the international buyer persona. This is key. Whether you're looking at content for your website, you're looking at your international marketing strategy, is very much an interlinked approach. Here, there are a few things that I've mentioned. So set your objectives, know what you're trying to achieve, define your buyer persona, look at your KPIs, and this will help you choose your platforms. Again, I'll go back to Jonathan's point about Mexico versus Canada. That is one of the clearest examples that we have seen growing in that direction over the years. It's very important to make sure you don't spread yourself too thin, but also that you understand which platforms are bringing you the best results, and then you can do more of what works in the right direction. Think about your strategy, anything that's got to do with ad copy, images, scheduling, placement, organic, paid, reporting. I don't mean, I'll put that there, I don't mean for it to be scary. Is all fun and part of the process, but there's also why, IBT Online is here to help. If there is anything we can support in reviewing your strategy, pointing you in the right direction, anything that we can help with, please do get in touch. As John mentioned, we have designed a specific program. This is one that is very popular. We've seen extreme good successes for US exporters, is our USMCA, really leveraging those two top export markets, Canada and Mexico. We have programs that very much align strategically to be able to leverage that USMCA region. So again, if you're not sure where to start, those might be two good markets for you to look into. So again, very happy to share more information about our USMCA dedicated programs that span from website to marketing, to again trade show promotion support, and anything that's needed along the way. Just to mention again, I've put this here. We have a ton of free resources on the website. We have, you can see all of the past webinars, upcoming webinars, but we also have blogs, more client testimonials. We have, you know, interactions with our state partners as well. If you're curious to go and have a look who we've been partnering with, and all of that is out there on the website, with updated weekly. So please do go take a look. Have a look through and see if there is anything. And if you don't find what you're looking for, I said it again, get in touch with us. We are here to help, and we'd love to, you know, take this forward and just have a conversation to see how we can best support you grow your exports and sales globally. And I'll turn on to John for the Q&A. And I apologize if we went a little bit long, but we should have good time for a few more questions.
No. Well, it's love having this opportunity to kind of take some feedback from the audience and ask some questions. And Jonathan, the first one will be for you. Just what kind of time should a business expect to put into something like this? You know, what kind of time did it take you as you worked on these websites?
Well, in the beginning, I thought it was going to be a lot of time, but really, you know, IBT helped us to really limit the amount of time. So I would say, you know, in actual hours, over the course of about a month working with IBT, we probably spent, I would say about 20 working hours. And I mean, that was us getting all the information, getting it to IBT, looking at the keyword searches and like that. And then they would come back with, hey, these are some templates, pick what you'd like, pick these colors, kind of going back and forth. So, you know, over a couple month period, I would say we didn't spend any more than 30, 40 hours total for the websites. And that was what was great with IBT, is that I could still work and IBT could do their work. So you can do both, and it's not going to be adding, you know, 40 hours a week to your already crazy workload.
No, that's certainly how we want to be able to help businesses like yours. So thank you for that. You know, next question, I can tackle this one. It was just about grant opportunities in general. And what I can tell folks is it really comes down to what state you're in. And, you know, there are programs. I mentioned the USDA does have a program here in the southeastern US, for example. It's managed through SUSTA, where you work with your state's Department of Agriculture, and they can provide access to some of these programs. So kind of state by state, there are entities in place that can help with that. And then there's also the SBA's, what's referred to as the STEP program, the State Trade Expansion Program. And so each state does participate in that and does have funding available. And in that situation for the SBA program, you would contact your state. So in the state of Kentucky, for example, you'd contact the state's International Trade Office. And I certainly know who those folks are, but would be happy to direct folks to them if you'd like more information on those programs. But they really are fantastic programs where the grant programs started, and some of them go on for 10 or more years, and they are designed to help in particular small businesses like hardwood manufacturers who are looking for, in the early days, it was support to travel on a trade mission or a trade show. I know there are some folks from the industry who may be over the Dubai Wood Show this week, and so they could take advantage of grants to do that. Things have really shifted in the last 10 years, though, and so I think organizations like the USDA and the SBA are now focused on really digital marketing in a way that they haven't in the past. We see a lot of emphasis, from the U.S. Department of Commerce as well, on things like e-commerce, and then they know that these are the things that are going to help the U.S. exporters be more competitive overseas. And if you want to be competitive overseas, you can't just focus on that one trade show a year. This digital marketing strategy is another way to do it as well. And so my message is there are grant opportunities. My contact information is there. So if folks want to contact me, I can tell you who to call in your state. So Joelle, the next one's for you. What are you seeing in terms of the latest trends? Are you seeing more and more businesses working with e-commerce, things like videos? And what markets are you seeing clients interested in? Because, and there's a hint that in this question that there seems to be some focus on Southeast Asia, but anything that you're seeing?
Nope, that's absolutely I want to say the two big trends we've seen end of 2022 and the beginning of this year is video content. And absolutely, we've always been a big fan of video, but it's very much growing. The idea now with such good smartphone and iPhone, you don't need a production crew anymore to go around and, you know, film your facilities and use them. And the good thing about video for international markets is that they are so easily repurposed. You can get videos in English with then localized subtitles and then work just as well, because we know that a lot of people on social media, or at least I'm culprit of this, I watch videos with no sound. So if I've gone with subtitles, then it's so easy. You have one video, you can repurpose it on the website, on your social media, on any other outreach. So that is a fantastic tool for engagement. And I think if I remember correctly, YouTube released a stat saying that video engaged 12 times more than static images. So you get 12 times more engagement. So it's worth looking into that. And that might also be what leads to, we've seen a lot more interest in Southeast Asian countries. We've seen clients go into Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia as well, but also the GCC, so the Gulf countries. We have a lot of English and Arabic, which is again a whole separate conversation on that, but Middle Eastern websites and you know, specific industry, whether it's Saudi, whether it's something that's more encompassing for the whole region. But that has been a very thriving market for a number of our partners. And then the USMCA, as I mentioned in the slide, that's been you know, one of the most popular combinations, just because they're such big markets. That is often the starting point, and then we tend to expand from there. I could go on again, but e-commerce and
No, I know it really is. It's absolutely amazing to see how just even over the last 6 months how things have shifted. It seems that there's something new right around the corner, literally every month or so.
Absolutely.
Well, we are close to time, but we do have one last question, Jonathan. This one's for you. For advanced super abrasives, how does IBT Online coordinate with your marketing and sales team?
So we have a monthly meeting, which is great in that we go over all the metrics. You heard Joelle earlier talk about all the data. She's very data driven. I can attest to that. You know, I always tell her, please don't have a meeting with me at 8 in the morning. Let's move it to 10 because I need to wake up a little bit before we get into some of these. But that's what's great is that, you know, we will bring in our salesperson from Mexico or our distributors from Mexico or Canada or any other market that we're looking at, and make them a part of that conversation with IBT Online and their team. So we're not only looking at the matrix or the metrics of everything, we're looking at what's our social media campaigns going to look like next month? What target audience are we looking at? So they're really integrated into our sales and marketing team, because you know, IBT may say, hey, okay, you want to do this particular marketing campaign in Dubai, let's just say. We need these graphics or videos, to Joelle's point. And so our marketing team has to go get those videos, make them with the cell phone or whatever we want to do, and then provide it to IBT. And then our sales team may say, okay, you know, we're going to do the wood show in Dubai. So we want to have this video, plus we want people to know we're at booth number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what we'll do is we'll get back together the next month and the month after that, after the trade show, and see where were we? Did we target the right audience? Did we target the right areas? What should we be doing? And so that sales and marketing team is a very integral part of our, you know, interaction with IBT Online and their team, and that, you know, it's almost one cohesive unit. And we meet once a month minimum. But I can tell you that there's emails that go out in between there and other meetings if there have to be. But it's not a time drag, so to speak. I know a lot of you are sitting there going, oh, well, now, you know, I have to get my sales team involved and we're going to be on there for hours. And no, it's not. It is very, very quick to go through everything. But it's very important that you do it, because you want to make sure, you know, we have a saying over here, we want everybody rowing in the same direction. And so when you have a meeting with IBT and their marketing specialists with your marketing team and your sales team, you know, your sales team may actually say something that you don't know as a business owner, which is, I need help with this particular industry or this particular demographic or this particular section of this country, which you don't think about. Like I didn't know until we started working with IBT Online and our social media marketing team there at IBT, but then our salespeople on the ground in Mexico, that Tijuana was a huge focal point for medical device manufacturing. I didn't know that. But my team came in from Mexico and they said, Joel, we need a targeted approach in Tijuana just for medical device manufacturers. So that's why it's so important to have these meetings. And I think it's great to have them integrated because you really do get more of an ROI than you could ever imagine. And from a brand awareness, which most of you will want to do getting new into a market, IBT does an amazing job of capturing that. And then you can take that targeted approach like John was saying with the marketing and everything else. So you get both ends of the spectrum. So I highly suggest you do that and make sure your salespeople are part of it. Your international partners are a part of it, because I can tell you my international partners love our international websites because it actually, some of them mention them. Plus, like John said, all the resources are there in the local, metric system or language or whatever. So, it really is great resources for your team on the ground, makes them feel like you're a part of their world and their country and you're interested. And having your marketing team on those calls with IBT just strengthens that bond even more.
No, I think that's a perfect place to close on, Jonathan, and thank you. Thank you to Jonathan and Joel for joining me for this discussion today. It's one that I'm really encouraged every time I get together with groups like this to see the folks who are coming in and want to hear more about this. And so I'd like to thank the audience today and everyone who joined us. And we look to some of the follow-up discussions, but thank you all very much. That will be all for today.
Thank you very much.
Bye.